Hi everyone, welcome back to True Alchemy. So today's reading is a very interesting one. We're going to be finding out how is your DNA upgrading. So DNA is correlated with your spiritual development and ascension process. Since the collective is going through a major shift right now, it would be quite helpful to understand what these changes are bringing about in our lives, our thought patterns, the way we perceive our life, and how it would naturally impact us and those around us. Considering that our inner reality creates our outer reality, this would be a really helpful reading to do. Without further ado, let's dive in. We have three piles like always from the left to right. The first pile is Polychrome. The second pile is Fluorite. And the third pile is Labradorite. Pause if you need a little longer. Pick the one which calls your name the most. Now I'm going to begin with pile number one. Hello, pile number one. If you chose the Polychrome palm stone. So this is obviously artificial. It's not exactly a natural mineral over here. For your cards, okay, before we get into the cards, we're going to read from today's book. That is the Gene Key. It is by Richard Rudd. So it's quite a fat book. And for you, we are reading about the fourth key. So these are all about the cells that we have in our body, okay? And considering all the cells that we have, Spirit gave me insight into your current karmic debt. um, Considering how we take the significance of DNA into what reincarnates itself into a physical form as what your soul intends to learn or solve. So it's all about your elasticity. And you could be someone that I immediately got the energy of you being someone that is a healer. You have this feeling inside that you can help other people, and you've been through certain things in your childhood that have been quite heartbreaking. I feel like these things are more related with, okay, let's simplify it. I would say that you are one of those people who would always feel like you can relate more with the sadness in the world rather than someone that is happy or looks like they're happy all the time. Does that make sense? You can relate more with people that actually um, have been through something, and like the suffering inside them is something that you can make it a common denominator of your friendship over here. And that is very different from trauma bonding, because I feel like that can often be understood as, oh, we're developing a codependency. And actually, who knows what actually goes on in the whole psychological part of our brain. But I feel like there is somewhere where you feel more sense of belongingness in the dark of the world, or in the hidden paths. Like I'm seeing a creaking chair in an attic. It's more like you are somebody that is a medium at your core level. You are somebody that has this one foot in the spiritual world and this one foot in the human world. And there's a lot that goes on, because you are a person who's not here just to, I don't feel like you are someone that is over here to enjoy just the riches of the life. And I don't mean that you are supposed to go through poverty, but it is more about you are a phenomenal example of someone who is a self-made person. You started off at the bottom and now you're making your way up. And by making your way up really means as to how many what's that word, Spirit? Um Obstacles have thrown on you and your way, and how many times or how many shackles you have broken from your past. You are literally that example that people probably have been there. Let's take an example of maybe a childhood friend or somebody that's known you since childhood. People have always been comfortable with you being the underdog in certain situations. People have always been okay with you being someone that um, they feel like they can save you. And I think that most people have not really been able to see that X factor within you because it was quite hidden until, the universe wanted to put you in the limelight with all that you are. And I think that this is a proper case of a diamond where it needed to, be rubbed off at the edges, carved out, and taken out into its pure form. So, is giving diamond in the dust or in the rough, that kind of an analogy over here, where they're telling me that certain people, they can't quite stomach how much you have grown, or they often fall into this path of it's like they think like, what's less of me, and how did they get that, and how did they get that favor, why do they have it. It's like you often find people who develop this sense of envy towards you because they came from the same place. Just how it's said that your biggest support system would be, people rooting for you would be would be strangers or people on internet, but rather than people who have seen you go through it just develops that envy where people have not been able to grow or change themselves. The change that you have brought in your life is something often I would say in the future tense as well, the change that you will keep bringing in your life, because I see a very um consistent pace at which your life keeps growing and you keep growing with it. The life that you have right now is nothing like the life you had 9 months ago, and there's probably a significance of 9 months because it is the gestation phase when the child is in the mother's womb. And I'm not just talking about humanly procreation. They're showing me different animals as well. You're a part of that ecosystem, the life cycle over here, when everything in this universe has to come to an end. Everything has to come to an end for something new to come out, and this is basically the method of adaptation or new creation in your life. Does that make sense? And that is why you have the card of evolution. Because what is in your soul DNA, what manifests in this lifetime is not, you might have this feeling like people get tangible success or something, like there's this feeling within you that why do people get that? But I feel this very guided message because I felt the energy of your guides. There's like a strong angelic protection around you, where they really want you to know that whether you always feel connected to the light beings of the world or not, of the spiritual realm, excuse me, they are still around you because they need to protect you from so much warfare that comes in. Because, oh, this reminds me of that movie by Justin Timberlake, I think it's called Time, right? If you've seen that movie, and if you have not, I would really, really, really recommend you to watch that movie because you would understand where you're going from. It would really give you an idea of how much you elevate. And people might often want to conclude it as luck or something like that, but they feel like there's something that divinely protects you, something that is easier for you because your successes are more, it's like I'm hearing the word unmatched. Your successes come more in the form of your spiritual ranking. I feel like spiritual ranking is a little, I don't know, is a misfit for a word. I don't understand it quite, or I don't like how it sounds. um I would rather use the word tenacity that you have on a soulful level. It's like you've been through quite a lot, and this not just gives me like an old soul vibe, but somewhere where you have probably um like you have incarnated after a few lifetimes. But that doesn't mean that you have not had good enough experience over here. You know that you have incarnated on this planet at this specific time for a specific reason. And that's why they say that at a purely individual level, the whole process of human incarnation is based around the notion of karmic debt. Until you have paid off all your debts, particularly through your relationships, you cannot escape the game of incarnation and reincarnation. The releasing of humanity's collective karma, such beings hold on to nothing in life because they have moved beyond understanding into pure truth. So, all that I read about you over here and your DNA upgrading is a lot about the debts that you are resolving. So, maybe you have difficult relationships with someone in your family or with your whole family. You feel scapegoated, you feel like you're the black sheep, or you just feel like you're quite alone, like you're not, your people around you are not growing as much as you are. And that comes with, it's like a gift and a curse, right? Because sometimes you feel really really lonely, but there's a purpose for that loneliness. If you're going through that process right now, it is not for you to push aside your purpose right now, because this is what is going to fulfill you. Once you actually understand this part of you that wants to grow, that wants to break cycles, that doesn't want to end up like their parents, doesn't want to end up like their friends, doesn't want to end up like that person that they know, that person that they know. Once you have an acceptance of the fact that you have this feeling of change, you have this desire to change your life drastically, you don't want to be like everyone that's around you in that mediocrity, it is a very is a huge significance of what you're meant to do. Because what is in you that just doesn't get tired, that just doesn't get tired till the time you're like, you know what, I'm probably gonna rest, but I'm not gonna quit. And there's something that comes with this journey, is that the higher you aim, the tougher it is, right? So you might question, like, why is it tougher for me? Why aren't other people going through this? And that's where I see a lot of warfare that happens with you, whether you're aware of it or not. I feel majority of you are tapped in with this energy where you know that you go through these things. I read this quote where there's a theory that whenever we're thinking, we're listening to entities. And that's why most of the time we feel anxiety or depression, because certain entities feed into our thoughts. And that's why prayer is so important for you. This is what I'm really picking up for you. Uh, for few of you, I feel like you might be facing certain things such as loss of identity. You often question, who are you? Because you're not quite there where you completely understand yourself, but it's like a cracking eggshell. You're still coming out of it. And you don't quite understand, but you have the sense that I am closer than I used to be before. And you look at other people like zombies, is what I'm hearing. I heard dead fishes. It's like you look at other people that they were flapping outside of the water and they just couldn't survive. Like you see at other people, or there's something quite generational over here, where other people in your family have not been able to survive this amount of pressure from the spiritual realm. It's like maybe you know somebody that's bipolar, somebody that's that has schizophrenia, somebody that has narcissistic tendencies, somebody, you have some sort of maybe mental illness in your family lineage, or there are people that suffer with the same generational trauma passed on, which is quite strong. And spirit is telling me it's not about addiction, it's about some sort of disorder, mental illness, something that is quite serious and you feel like it cannot be cured. Even I'm hearing cancer. So there are certain things that have been uh, truly a manifestation of what has happened to them spiritually, that they couldn't tolerate, and it manifested as a physical form of it. certain illnesses, rage. I'm talking about rage over here. I'm talking about things that you have had major purges in your life to actually overcome them. And you often realize, now I understand. Like, I feel like you've reached a point. I'm getting age to maybe like 25 or maybe 45. There's something about like that, reaching that level of prime age somewhere where you start understanding why that person turns sour in life, why that person suffers with so much insecurity, why this person has this trigger, why this person behaves like this when this happens, because you as a medium can see what these entities behind the scene are doing to them. So I feel like as a child, you used to be quite aggressive because you were carrying all of this, and there was a provocation factor over here, which I feel like when you were breaking out of these patterns, a lot of things used to already trigger you because the spirits around you would provoke the family members around you or something. I feel something a lot about the nest. I'm getting the nest, like where you were born, where you've been from, provoking you, wanting you to get out of your character, wanting you to act in certain ways so that it induces shame in you that you're just like them. It's a lot of mind games over here. It's a lot of narcissistic people that you've interacted with. And I know that this can be quite filthy, but I'm not over here to give you my sympathy. I'm here to remind you of how strong you are, of how much you've endured. And this is not for you to feel sorry for yourself. I understand why you go through these processes. All emotions that you have are equally important, but this emotion is not who you are. Who you are is this person who exceeds through all barriers. And right now, you're at this point in life where somewhere I feel like you feel excluded from the crowd that you were already in. It's because you're maximizing out of it. Like, I see your soul being pushed through a time lapse. You know how you see in movies, like they have this, what you call, time machine. Like, I'm seeing something like that, like you're going through timelines, you're skipping through timelines because where you are right now doesn't it doesn't match up with your internal reality. So what you're doing is, maybe you're really, really grieving old relationships. Maybe you're grieving who you used to be. Maybe you're really, really crying and you're just like, what the heck is happening with me? It's because you're actually pushing through a lot of timelines. People that were in that timeline, people who remember only that version of you that they used to feel comfortable when you used to feel sorry for yourself. You used to be stuck in mind games with other people. You did not trust yourself. People that only felt comfortable with that weak version of you now are having to see what is happening with you. Like, they're having to see that you're no longer a prey to their games, or just, it's not even that they're purposely trying to put that in your life. It's just like they're seeing that you're greater than that. You have more knowledge, and somewhere they feel inferior to you because they have not had that access, or it's just not been their time. And there's envy because they're like, why don't I have it? So I feel like a lot of people around you are putting two and two together to see, like, okay, this person, all these years when I saw them really, really limping through life, I feel like God finally came through for them, or like something was there. I didn't recognize. I was so self-absorbed. I always thought that they're just going to be this person who's going to always need me. But now I feel like, what am I even going to offer in their life? It's like you were underground, you were hidden in plain sight. There's something about your body image as well. I feel like you had to go through a process to endure all of that. So either if you gained a lot of weight, you lost a lot of weight, or you started building your body. See, your physical body plays a very important role in that. And that's where we bring about a full circle into your DNA evolution, right? If you've had insecurity towards your body, whether it's things that you can't change, it's your bone structure, it's your height, it's, things that you can't change about your face and everything, there's a very strong spiritual factor behind why your soul chose the exact body that you have, because it needs those features or characteristics to fulfill its purpose. Your body needs that. Your physical manifestation needs that strength and reliability. So whatever you have, Majority of you have really strong legs, if you've noticed that. um and I'm getting something about for the feminine energies, like the females, to be very precise. You're supposed to bring in a new generation of children that come from healed body, right? A healed emotional body. That's why you're working so hard, and you might have this feeling of really wanting to be a mother. Like the mother instinct has been really, really charged up. I'm getting like some of you actually watch like your spirit baby readings or something like that. Like you really, really crave it. You might have pets, like you just can't help it, but you feel this mothering nurturance. And that is a part of your purpose, to bring in offsprings in this world that shift into the new age, new world, right? We've been talking about it, we've been seeing about it, because there's a massive collective purge that's going through. So a lot of it is, I feel like, in the technological area of life, I also hear a message that be very, very vigilant of what content you're consuming at this point, because this message is very timely. If you're reaching this message, you know that there is something today that you're going to take from this to understand, and I really do hope that it's more in the sense to empower yourself. I do hope that you understand what you're doing is something that really, really strong people do. Just look at the people who have failed, because it's not just you who had been offered this. It's not even offered, but given this mission to solve this, to heal the collective karma. But a lot of people in your family lineage could not succeed. You know what happens when your body tolerates so much negativity? It's like you know that there are certain people in your family that could have been gifted, and they couldn't tolerate it. They couldn't handle the intensity of spiritual um, communication and inter-exchange of energies. So that negativity often turns into, insecurities embed as deeper traumas. They turn into depression, and you know what happens if you can't pull yourself out of depression. You perhaps develop mental illnesses. It starts showing up in your physical body. Your body gets weak. Once your body is weak, then you know what is happening. That's why they say health is wealth. So right now you may be facing some difficulties like mild colds, or certain injuries, your bruises, somebody has gotten allergies. And I feel like allergies are a very representative, um, it's very representative of warfare. That's something that I have experienced. So there are certain things that physically manifest. um, For somebody, I feel like this was quite a lot of information. Um, but it's important to put the right information out there. Don't take a message if it doesn't apply to you. But definitely don't let your ego tell you that all of this is baloney. That's what I would, put it at, conclude it at. So, um, I feel like now we're gonna pull out a few cards. I am getting a message to see like what comes in after this for you. What comes in after this for you? I'm gonna reshuffle this. We have creative power, release your alchemical energy into the world. See, you are going through this process of evolving towards your higher purpose. You know that you're doing this and this is not going to end. You have this undying need to improve yourself, and you have this hunger for enlightenment, is almost what I pick up. Like you might have experienced moments of having a spiritual ego, feeling like you're more elevated than other people, but it's not like I see the universe punishing you for it, because you do have that on a soulful level. But it's like life eventually humbles you down so that you can relate with people, so that you can pull them out of them. It is a natural leadership quality, but it's not completely out there. You're not supposed to be purposely in the limelight. You might have had this feeling, or you might feel like I want to be appreciated for it. But trust me, there's a different purpose for you that can only be done when you're hidden in the dark. There's something about the dark. Either you really like the nighttime, or you like to be hidden. You don't like too much limelight on you. You don't like, even though you might have those qualities, because I see that you're a beautiful person, and there's something about your bone structure, like physically speaking, it's very strong. You, as a woman, you might have a strong build, or you might be tall, or as a man, you have a strong build. You have naturally a really athletic body. That's what I see over here. They're giving me the reference of Hercules. You know what I mean, really? Like, it's your body that shows that strength. It's like in the DNA, there's some sort of royalty, or there's some sort of like strength that is given to you already, so that you can actually push through these circumstances of your life. It's like, almost, I would tell you, the kind of things that you've been through, the kind of things that you've put in your body, they don't really show on your face, and you should really know how much your body or the divine blesses you. Infinite, I'm hearing infinite. All that you're earning, pile number one, is something that cannot be taken away from you. And I think that this reading comes in to really, really just be a boost. So it's like, whatever spiritual knowledge wants to make itself available to you, it will when it has to. So I'm going to pull out your conclusive card, pile number one, as to see what comes after this. Just to leave you with a little bit something. Come to the edge. So I feel like you go through this quite a lot. Wow. We have regeneration and TikTok. You know when to leave. If you've been struggling with something, it's coming to an end, whatever it is. Whether it's like something financial, whether it's being stuck in a karmic loop. I feel like you're just at the brink of it. It is going to go away. It is going to close itself off. Trust that you're just there. And the key to it is obviously going inside. Nobody else. Just one thing I would definitely leave you with is that trust yourself more than you trust your friends or anybody else, or even the internet. But there's something about your friends. You lean upon your friends for certain things. Start leaning on yourself and your faith. Whatever you do, find different ways of meditation. You don't always have to be sitting still. I know that that is important. If that works for you, keep at it. But music is a great form of meditation, or sitting in the nature. Right now, you might feel quite ungrounded because there's a lot of downloads coming in. So do whatever you do, because it clearly works for you. Right? So pile number one, this was your reading. I'm going to leave it here. I really do hope that you found a message that was helpful. If you did, please do hit that like button. Subscribe for more. Hit the bell icon so you know whenever I upload next. Let me know down in the comment section how that resonated. Information for personal readings is given down below. And I'm going to see you guys in another one. Bye-bye. Hello, pile number two. If you choose the fluorite, this is going to be your reading. So you chose the card of reflection. Before we begin off with the cards, today's book is going to be The Gene Key by Richard Rudd. So quite a big book. So, of course, there are a couple of things that Spirit gave to me for your reading. One of the first things that I mentioned in the beginning or the intro of the reading is that we are going through a difficult period. That means if one of us is going through a really difficult period, that means the collective is going through a difficult phase. So you could be someone who understands the ebb and flow of life. It is almost like you understand that something has to end for something new to come. And I feel like you are going through this phase of change where you have wanted something to desperately evolve in your life. Something that you knew inside that was not good enough for you. Something that reached its maturation period where you were just like, hey, you know what, this is not working for me. So I see that this paragraph itself states about the root cause of human, where all issues which come from obsessive patterns that create this obsessive thinking is It literally feeds upon our need to escape insecurity, and it leads into impatience and running into vices. So one of the main things that is given in the fifth gene key, these are all about genetics that we have, the gene cells, and basically the gene code, excuse me, that is carried in all human race. So certain things that are engraved within us, for example, our grave fear of dying. So dying is something that we all fear the most, and there are little things that we still consider as I'm getting like difficult emotions or tedious fears. One of them that you have been dealing with is your hunger to escape the feeling of insecurity that has that drives you into impatience. The root of all of this is that you feel like you are running out of time. You find yourself in places of being um, comparing yourself. I feel like comparison is quite a big thing. Whatever it is in your life that you compare yourself with, or something that another person has but you don't have, I feel like there's a really underlying mindset of lack mentality where you're just like nothing is enough for you. Whereas I understand that there is this need or desire within you to expand in some area of your life. I feel like there's something about love over here. Maybe it's about love where you always feel like it's never enough. You've never had enough, or other people don't match up to it, or it just doesn't come that easy in your life. It's a lot about relationship, or it can also be with money. You have this thing that I need money, I need money, I need more money. It's like a deep-seated fear of never having enough and feeling like if I don't have it right now, I will never have it in my life. So I'm seeing that you're going through this phase of mutation, I would rather say. This paragraph says if you look at the state of the mass consciousness on our planet today, you will see a universal mutation underway. The evolution of the whole globe, that includes the species, that includes the flora fauna, that includes um, technological advances. I'm running out of words, spirit, or adaptation. You know how we started off with, if you're aware of the Big Bang theory, how everything started off with a small molecule atom, and then how everything has um, evolved into us being humans and our consciousness. Everything has had a consciousness within it. And what is that drives the adaptation? It is always competition for survival. You have this thing underneath inside you that is mutating itself right now, that is working its way, it's adapting itself. So whatever you used to work with before has not been working for you. You've reached a point in your life where you're struggling with the same mindset or the same type of person that you used to be. So I see some sort of physical change. Of course, that is going to bring a physical change in your body. I think that majority of you over here in this pile are working towards reducing that weight, because I think that you've carried a lot of weight that was that we carry weight when our body has a lot of trauma. Certain people gain a lot of weight. It's not because they're doing something wrong, it's not because they're necessarily just eating all the time, it's because the body is storing itself. It's like it's creating comfort with all the cellulite and the weight that it's holding on to. And there are certain ways where the cortisol in your body, which is a stress hormone that is released to cope up with stress. So it's almost like if you have this trauma response again and again, especially the cortisol is released in your belly. So if you have lower abdomen fat that is quite, what's the word, stubborn, it doesn't go away, you work out, you do all of things. So if you store a lot of fat in your lower abdomen, that also means that you're still carrying a lot of, it's like the body nervous system automatically starts producing it when the mind sees something as a threat. So the body needs to protect itself, the body needs to cope up with it, so the body will start producing more of it. And there could be n number of trauma symptoms that you have. Either you don't eat Either you eat a lot, but I feel like there's something that is changing. Your body is releasing that. It's a good amount of trauma healing work that you've done that is being shown to me. So I see a lot of headaches happening over here. I see communication with the other side of the spiritual realm. I see that you are communicating with certain, or you used to have communication with certain entities that were more generational. So I feel like if there was some sort of significant pattern in your parents' marriage, so I'm giving you an example, you can really, really see what you're changing that is learned from your previous generation. So basically that is your ancestral lineage, right? Your parents represent that DNA code that you're trying to adapt better to. So if there's something that you don't like or feel like is something that you won't be able to adopt to, you won't stay stagnant with that mentality, or either it's like a shape or form or something. Everything that you think of later on manifests into the physical reality. So something spiritually has provoked you into changing that DNA pattern, right? So maybe I am getting a very strong emphasis on maybe body and health can correlate with emotional health that automatically is equivalent to the kinds of connections or love relationships that you have in your life, right? So you're improving that relationship with yourself. You're learning to understand, feed your body better. And I see this really, really focused upon your health. So maybe you've had a lineage where your family has struggled with obesity, or they've struggled with they've struggled with certain insecurities when it comes to things that you can't change, um, or it is with certain, I feel like, facial features or hair, nails and things like that. I'm picking up on things that are physically visible as well. But I see like something about the gut healing as well over here. So spirit is giving me a lot about the relationship or the marriage that your parents have had. For few of you, your parents had a love marriage, but that didn't turn out to be as delightful as it's made out to be. That's what I'm picking up, because you are maybe realizing that not only they were meant to be together, but there's something about them where you see the toxic traits or the dynamic between them, which is not good. It's like you get that they love each other, but this is something that you draw a line and you're like, I don't want this from my partner, I don't want this in my life. And I think that you had this mentality where you used to see just one parent as the villain. You often do that, right? Because as a child you want or you need one parent to be the hero, right? And that often happens. So for majority of you, I feel like maybe your mother was the, heroic figure, and your father was often villainized because of his emotional unavailability over here. um and I think that what this is happening over here, this says our entire species is undergoing a deep genetic quantum leap. As you come to terms with your personal fears, humanity comes to terms with its collective fears. The very fact that you are reading this right now is telling you that life is examining itself in an enormous depth, and in doing so discovering all manners of anomalies or glitches in its programming matrix. As each glitch is observed and deleted, and as each fear is accepted, it diminishes. Beneath the old genetic code is a new one, thus revealing itself. There's a lot of hyperactivity. I see that in your gene code. I feel like you are people that think too quick, act too quick, and it's again that impatience that I'm picking up over here. Time is running out, I have to act on it right now. Whereas I feel like impatience can serve the human mankind over here. You collectively are a bunch of people who are learning how to think before you act. So it's not like, oh, I'm putting out just the energy. So if you're somebody that tends to get envious of other people having certain things in their life, and you don't have that, especially when it comes to maybe, for example, a romantic partner, or they're loved, or or you think, or you feel, or you just see that maybe somebody's parents are more supportive than your parents, you're learning not to take that personally and speak out ill intention. Like you're learning not to do that, because I think that you used to think, create those thought patterns in obsessive manner, because once you started comparing yourself, because I see a lot of energy of comparison comes from a place where you start feeling like it's never going to happen for me. So there's something that's changing within your mindset, which probably uh, comes from your childhood, or either it comes from your family lineage. It's like, our cells, our DNA carries trauma. It carries that information. Cells carry information, just like it carries um, certain traits in your body, certain what do you call genetics, right? When a child is born, everybody is so excited to notice who the child resembles more, the mother or father, the grandparents, or what alternative genes, right? So this is more like where you are recognizing that this is something that is in my parents, this is something that has been here, it's inherited from the maternal hierarchy, or it's inherited from the paternal hierarchy. You're kind of getting access to these informations right now, and that's why you're having a headache, because you're getting a lot of downloads. It's like the temples of your head, or um, you're relatively feeling quite sleepy because you're doing a lot of astro traveling as of now. Really, I feel like it really sums up, when you find yourself moving through a difficult period, it means that all life is moving through a difficult period. So don't think that just because somebody looks happier than you are on social media or whatever, it's like, I really feel the emphasis to tell you that this reading is not to criticize you, but give you a few key pointers so that you can prevent yourself from thus digging a deeper hole of misery for yourself. Because I think that you compare yourself often with other people and what they have better than you do. And I think that that would not help you in whatever you're wanting to manifest, because it further creates a separation between you. So, how you're elevating right now is trying to bridge that gap. They keep repeating the line, when you find yourself going through a difficult period, it means everyone is going through that. So that doesn't mean that just your friends or you are going through something and you're like, oh my God, it's happening with you as well, it's happening with me as well, right? Certain things come up at the same time for everyone. It's like entering a new age or a new world, perhaps. You're trying to clear out a lot of things that don't serve. So you chose the card of reflection. You can see how this is about the backbone. I don't know if I would call them pigtails, but it does look like some sort of like onion shape coming out of her head. There's like a rock over here, which in this deck really signifies obstacles. It's like something has elevated your condition and is showing you the way forward, but it doesn't happen till the time you sort out certain things. It's like spirit is showing you a higher timeline in your life, right? Spirit is showing you what you can have, and it just requires for you to let go of whatever you believe about yourself. They're wanting me to read the second law for you, that would be helpful. This is the law of giving and receiving. So this says the law of giving and receiving is simple. If you want love, learn to give love. If you want attention and appreciation, learn to give attention and appreciation. If you want material affluence, help others become materially affluent. If you want to be blessed in life with all good things, learn to silently bless everyone with all good things in life. It's like you have to understand that there's a flow. It always comes back. So if you're someone that struggles with perhaps money or spending money, and you feel like, oh my God, I'm going to run out of it, or there's like this um, thought process in your head, like I'm not going to spend too much, try thinking about it is, rather than spending, like you're circulating money out there as an energy. You are the vessel for that energy. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to hoard on it, or you're supposed to completely spend it out. Just see yourself as a vessel where money goes and comes in. You're circulating that. So certain thought patterns really need an upgradation, is what I'm hearing with you. When it comes to the reflection card, it is all about this phase that you're going through where you might be finding yourself deeply reflecting upon things that have happened to you in the past. So I feel like there's a lot of relativity in the fact that you're finding out maybe your friends going through the same thing, you're reminiscing about a past memory, a person, a habit, or something like that. And there's a reason why you're being reminded of certain things in life, because they're showing you of what needs to let go or what needs to change through the experience of this memory or this person or whatever experience you're having in your life. See, we have this set pattern of going in our life, and sometimes if we don't allow ourselves to step out of our comfort zone, universe pushes us out of it, right? So I believe most of you have actually wanted this change. Somehow you saw it coming, and the gateway to get through this is through whatever um, clutter, I wouldn't even say clutter, but accumulation of information you have from your past experiences. Whatever has happened in your past is literally telling you right now that you are examining life in itself through enormous depth right now. You're trying to understand where you were fearful in the past, what was impacting your thought pattern in the past, that today, if you resolve it, because today you're a different person who can access that. This doesn't mean that you were, less wise in the past. That could have been the case, right? But today you have certain set of tools that includes the person that you are today to reevaluate that, go back, or perhaps just be uh well guided in that journey. It's almost like something that you could have done in the past would have not been completely authentic to you than you can today as this person who understands themselves better. Does that make sense? Whatever you were doing as a pattern before was not actually very consciously available to you because you didn't know who you are. So the navigation of it is kind of like, I would say, in DNA encryption or like DNA codes. That's what I'm telling you. Something about it, okay, I'll put it in perspective. Supposedly there are certain relationship traumas that you were carrying from maybe your grandparents. They were passed on to your parents, and then now you are the person who has evolved in this generation, right? So your grandparents did not have the information for all of it, and your parents did not know how to heal it. So we're talking about you as the offspring or the product of that genetic that is created itself. Nature has formed you into that person, a mutated version, a more wiser version of it, a more adaptable version of it today that can solve that puzzle. Does that make sense? So it's almost like how species adapt itself. You know how amphibians did that. Like they came out of water and then they started observing the land, but they would still go back into water. So there are certain things that genetics evolve itself into so that mankind, or even just the nature, you are a part of nature, you are nature. Nature wants to solve this, and it's in such a form that now today the evolved version of you can correct that. Does that make sense? So it's not that you're um, better than to say in a form, it's just that you are more evolved. I can understand how we can see that those two words are the same, but evolved just means in the sense that had it been not for your parents in the middle, you would have not been here. Does that make sense? So there's a process of evolution why everything happens in the way it has to happen. Your grandparents probably had the information, your parents had to collect the tools for it. And now today you are the person who has almost everything to solve it. And who knows what happens, what your the offsprings that you create, the next coming up generation solves for us, right? So there's always an ending and beginning in life, and there's a reason why certain things are solved at a specific time. The universe is very, very precise in that manner. Okay. So I feel like, wow, we have metamorphosis. This is the power and strength lie within our surrender to change. You do have this fear of change because certain things have been the same, they've been working. There's a complacency. I feel like pile number two, you are someone that deeply craves changes, but is of course scared, like every other mankind, right? Mankind species. So yeah, see, we have that. I just spoke of it. The deeply ingrained fear of death. This is the most ancient fear that we have. So we kind of feel like, that quote which floats around, that when you're stepping out of your comfort zone, don't think that this will not be achieved by you or attained by you because you are incapable. It just feels scary because you're not familiar to it. This is new. It doesn't mean that you're incapable of getting ahead and solving what you need to solve. Seeing your trauma as somewhere like a puzzle where you're taking that information from here and there. Technology is such a blessing in today's time because I am connecting with you through technology, and you're probably gaining some sort of knowledge or understanding through this process, right? It's like a sharing of knowledge that is happening right now, which was probably not available, maybe at the same age when your parents were teenagers. So there's a lot of things that come into play when we're doing something. You have to understand why there's a certain time for everything. It might not make sense right now, but there's a reason for it. The last thing that I am getting for you, pile number 2, is that if the frequency of your genetics is tuned into the fear, no matter what you do to try to bring a sense of stability to your life, your body will itself never feel safe. So, if there, for example, I'll give you an example of somebody who has had a difficult relationship with their parents. The parents have never been emotionally available. How we talk about people who struggle with forming emotional intimate relations is because they've never experienced that safety. In their body they are storing that trauma where it feels like getting close to someone will always hurt you, so I'd rather stay away. That warmth is something that they like to keep it in moderation. Either they can have a lot of it sometimes and then they have to detach, or they can have a little bit of it, and then it's like in moderation. They can't get too close to someone. So there's a reason for that. Unless and until somebody solves that, they don't tap into that fear. They're completely, what's the word, spirit? Tend lovingly to any feeling of confusion or dislocation, fear, anger, frustration, or loss. Till the time you don't take time to process those feelings, they will not miraculously just dissipate into thin air. Does that make sense? It's energy. Energy needs to rise for it to reach a climax point, if you will, so that it can get itself out. And that's what it always feels like. Right before you will be making a big change in your life, something really prominent will happen. You will always drop rock bottom before you actually start climbing, before you actually start making the biggest change, which has been quite repetitive. So see this as a blessing in disguise, truly, because right now you might not be able to understand what is happening. It might feel really really scary, like you're downgrading in life or you're falling behind, but it's not true. It was just your time to experience this right now. Maybe somebody else had to go through this before or goes through this after you. Does that make sense? So don't compare your journey with somebody else. We're all different parts of consciousness trying to remember who we are, and we will never ever ever have the same journey as somebody else. Okay, before I let you go, I am going to pull out a conclusive card. This is going to be about what comes next in your journey. Okay, we have childhood, responsibility, anguish. I really do feel like you feel quite anxious. It's like if you have a feeling, pile number 2, if you have this feeling inside that keeps trying to come up and you try to run away from it through whatever means, it's like a ball in the water. It's like a floating ball in the water. The more you try to push it down, the higher or the stronger it'll bounce back from the water. Does that make sense? You will not be able to hide that. That's what emotions are like. The more you try to suppress it, its magnitude increases. The intensity of it increases, and then it bounce It will bounce back harder than you will expect it. So you have to give time to each. You are a part of nature. Understand that there's an ebb and flow. So if you see like a tidal wave in the ocean, you can't just put a freaking dam in front of it and be like, you can just calm yourself out right now. No, it will find some other way. If it will not come out of the way where you put a dam or a blockage in front of it, it'll go in some other way. It'll go to the south of it, but it will do what it has to do. That is nature. The plates at the core of the earth will move when they are moving. That is nature. And so are you a part of it. So if something is pushing you to change something, you will shake. You can't change the inevitable. So to accept the flow, I feel like your energetic, your DNA is upgrading in the sense it's understanding the flow of life. You are truly, truly going to stop seeing yourself as a project list. You're going to understand that there's your time and then there's time for other people. Your journey can't be compared. Pile number 2. You have loyal hearts. So if you've been wanting love, that definitely is coming in by the book, because you're meant to have something very stable that you've wanted. But it requires for you to become this person. I said this in a reading I recorded yesterday. It was like a person who thinks that they will miraculously be like a non-committal person who thinks that will miraculously turn into this person that wants to settle down once they find the right person. Doesn't actually happen, because there's a reason why you haven't met the right person till now. It just doesn't make sense that you will just completely turn into that person who will become that person who's ready to settle down. There's an ebb and flow. There's a reason why you haven't found the right person or gotten what you really want, because you're probably in the phase of getting ready for it. Don't be impatient. Don't give up on yourself. Go through with the process. It's not that the universe is impatient. The timing is always right. You're being impatient. So, pile number 2, this was your reading. I'm going to leave it here. I really hope that you found a message that was helpful. If you did, please do hit the like button. Subscribe for more, hit the bell icon so you know whenever I upload next. Let me know down in the comment section how that resonated. Information for personal readings is given down below, and I'm going to see you guys in another one. Bye-bye. Hello, pile number 3. If you choose the Labradorite, this is going to be your reading. So we have the card Mystery. So you're on this pathway where I feel like you're not quite aware where this is leading you. And I think that there's relatively quite a lot of confusion. I feel like you're very connected with the divine right now. Whatever your intuition is telling you, or whatever your gut is telling you. I mean the difficult choice that you see over here. Does that make sense? The one that you see that there's only one pathway out of this is to go through it and not run away from it. Whatever your heart or whatever your gut really tells you to do right now is something that you're working towards. This is quite different from both the piles, where I see that you're learning how to get more into your leadership quality, get more out of this victim consciousness where you're like, things just happen to me, or I'm not quite sure what would happen to me. There's this striking pain in my ear right now, just like the moment I started it off. So it's either that you've been taking too many opinions from outside, or there's just been a lack of authority in your own life where when it comes down to your own sovereignty. So we have the card a pre-shuffle card, accountability. Responsibility is a gift of love to others and yourself. This is number 19, reduces to 10-1. I feel guided to read the first law. I think it's about intentionality. Okay, it is about potentiality. There's a quote that's written in the beginning. There was neither existence nor non-existence. All this world was unmanifest energy. This is from the Rig Veda. So this is all about the fact that there is potency in what we think about and who we aspire to be. I feel like right now, pile number three, you have this blank canvas in your life. Maybe you've been through something quite, I heard the word terrifying, something that I could relate with as an ego death. Like a part of you has really died, and now there's a blank canvas. There's space for more, something for you to draw or paint into your life, and that is really what I mean, as who you can be moving forward in your life. It's like spirit is giving you a life, is actually giving you a chance to become who you want to be rather than what you've taught to be. Does that make sense? As a product of society or as somebody that has gone along, I feel like you had strong people pleasing tendencies. You had strong tendencies where you would just do whatever other people would tell you to do, or you felt like you should be doing that because otherwise it'll upset somebody, or maybe your parents, your friends, or peer pressure, influence, romantic interest. There's some sort of like molding yourself to be more favored by other people, or still to be favored by other people. So it's like you used to give. I think pile number three, you have this thing that you're changing right now that used to be in your DNA, where there's a lot of emotional manipulation. I'm picking up on the energy of Queen of Cups in reverse. That is the energy of someone that's closed off. Their feminine energy is quite corrupted. It doesn't feel good in giving without knowing the exchange that it will get back. That is not exactly giving, that is calculating, right? So you're thinking about what to give so that you can get it on later, whether it is an exchange that happens in the future or it's in the moment. It's kind of like a barter system, but you're not giving love out of the purity of your heart or the willingness of your heart. And you know what happens when we go through that? It's not just in a strategic manner. It really limits our ability to love, because somewhere we all know how to unconditionally love, but we quite haven't tapped into it. And the more that we keep people around us that see it as a tax or an exchange, it becomes difficult for us to be who we are, because we will not give more than what we can, because we'll always be like, we quite don't get what we want either, or we're not favored in that manner, or we're not loved in the manner that we love other people, because we deserve to be loved exactly the way we love others, or even better. So I'm seeing that over here, that you've had some sort of conflicts in your relationship, something that you're going through right now, which requires for you to hold yourself accountable in places where you're cutting yourself, we're cutting other people some slack in that manner, and it's not in a good way. You're letting people loose, you're letting them step over you. So we have, when our internal reference point is the ego or self-image, we cut off from the source, and the uncertainty of events create fear and doubt. Ego is influenced by object outside of the self, circumstances, people, and things. It thrives on the approval of others. It wants to control because it lives in fear. And the ego is not who we really are. Ego is our social mask, and it is the role we are playing. So this is coming in where maybe you come from a background. There's a lot of energy that I see, that you have really strong characters in your family, like people who are leaders in some shape or form in the society, or you have really important jobs, like you add to the community in some shape or form. And I feel like where this comes from is how we have this verse. This paragraph in the book, today's book, is the Gene Key by Richard Rudd. So spirit gave me everything about your reading that relates with leadership, authority, and overcoming your victim consciousness. So this is where we talk about what happens when the shadow, the lust of power, is not controlled, and it supersedes the willingness to do good for others, because a leader is someone who provokes or helps other people to arrive to their own conclusions. Have you ever had a conversation or a session with a therapist? The therapist will always push you to arrive at your own conclusions, arrive at the answer by yourself, so that it doesn't feel imposed on you. It doesn't feel like it's out of your own will. So whatever it is, they're just helping you to get that answer out of you, whatever they think would be valuable to move forward, whatever they think would be important, needed for you to move forward in your own journey, right? So this is that we know what happens at a political level. This is just an example, okay? What happens when people need an army of people to control, right? And if you don't have control over the people, you really don't have any real power, right? So this is, leaders can force their way to the top. They can cheat, spin, bend the truth, manipulate, even buy their way into leadership. But there's a shadow in this, right? Where leadership requires highest frequency, where you're not imposing your thought patterns on someone, you are helping them arrive at their own conclusion. The shadow cannot command true respect or loyalty because it has at its core the lust for power rather than the good of others. Those who are elected are leaders, are chosen because they have genetic imprinting that makes them as alphas, right? That's what we spoke about. You as a person have that leadership quality. However, that does not necessarily make them good leaders. So as a leader, what do we understand? That we need followers, right? And followers cannot be done by coercion, black magic, or just creating a fear, right? What happens in this world, what happens in the matrix, is a lot of people that are um, yeah, spirit is telling me that's a talk for another day, but it's more like the basic concept of power that has started existing in this world, or it pre-exists, is just like you create fear, you create terror, and then you bring somebody else as a savior, and they automatically become that leader, right, for people. So I'm seeing that this says a real leader is the ultimate listener, where you have this prototype within you to lead, invent, and bring better things into this world. There's a need for you to humble yourself. That's what I'm seeing. Your DNA is going through an upgrade where there are lust for power, money, hunger, greed, and these things are something that have been passed on through generations in your lineage. So basically, your biology, your genetics actually carry that, right? So that trauma can come from greed. I'll tell you about greed. What happens when you have so much greed? It's like nothing is ever enough. Greed is not just what limits itself to money. It really expands in other areas of your life, where you're like, I want a lot of power. I want people to like me. You're chasing for another form of validation and some sort of coerced respect that will never be sufficient, because it's not the way you see yourself. And you need a lot of people to keep reinforcing that into you. Right? So nothing ever really becomes enough for you. And what happens when that demon is fed too much again and again, it becomes bigger and bigger, and the bigger the demon, the more destructive patterns that it is going to have and inculcate you in your day-to-day life, and thus it is going to impact your mental capacity, the way you think, the way you move in life, the way you also try to get your own benefit at the cost or detriment of other people. So, where has it been that your, so to speak, leadership quality or your supremacy or your upper hand in life, you have used that or have been capable of using that against other people? Where have you not been empathetic with other people's feelings and what they are probably going through? Because a leader is not someone who pinpoints at other people that this is what you did wrong and this is what you shouldn't have done. This is more like where you're respectful of other people. It's not in the sense where I see that you let other people walk all over you, but it's also where you don't have this unconscious fear driving you that if I let them get a little too closer, or if I show them compassion, they will walk all over me and they will not respect me. It's like keeping them, in a leash. You're not letting them be who they want to be, because somewhere when they start being who they are, it threatens you. So there's some sort of change that you're going through when it comes to control. You could be someone that has been micromanaging, and I'm seeing this change coming in you where you're letting things be. You could have been attracted to pile number 2 because there's a lot of energy where you're letting fear of change not drive you into someone who wants to control everything around themselves, because there is a very good quality of leadership within you and influence, and there's a certain charm to you that you know that comes with the eloquency of your words, but rather I know that you have the capacity to manipulate or use this in your own favor. And if somewhere comes where there is maybe somebody that is doing better than you, or you come across somebody, it's like you're not quite secure, and that is what is changing in you right now. Life as a whole is teaching you some, there are certain difficult circumstances that are taking place, certain ways the universe is so purposeful, right? It is planning out things in that manner which trigger you and let you just know that, hey, you know what, you feel not good enough in this area, or maybe this person came around and you have jealousy or envy, or you feel like you're not good enough, or you're not worthy of it. It's like things that separate you from just being a leader. Does that make sense? I think because your job or your role as a person, or what you are, has become such a strong concrete part of your personality that is almost all that you view of yourself, that is like created this whole identity where spirit or the universe wants you to separate that and see yourself as an individual as well. So there's maybe a camouflage between what you do for work and who you are at the end of the day. There's something quite like, there's something that's overlapping. It could also be in the sense where you've had experiences in your life where you have controlled either other people, or you have been controlled by other people out of love or in the name of love. This might be related to your past where you might have been bullied, and it could be that this is something that you carry in your DNA, because it's like once you're bullied, like whatever happens to you and the person you start hating is what you become later on. This says if you are weak, you will magnetize those who reinforce your weakness and even play on it for their own benefit. So there's somewhere where maybe you were picked upon in your childhood, or it could even be by the hands of your own parents, where you just became, I'm getting like the demon grew, or there's something like, metaphorically speaking, that pain grew, and it is like it pumps into everything that you try to do whenever somebody is trying to help you or give you constructive criticism, or somebody is pointing out something that is not good about you. It's like you won't want to completely hold yourself accountable because you feel like that's weak, or there's some dichotomy, there's some sort of overlapping, which I'm not getting quite precise. Like, I'm not getting a precise incident over here. It's probably different for everyone. But it's a lot about what has happened to you previously. I feel like this is a closed unit. It's your primary social exposures, like the first exposure of society, like the first primary exposure of society, that meaning the family. Because you're someone that's quite different than your family. It's like it's easy for you to get lost in the uh, clutter of it and what has happened, and you have the same wounds that your family carries, of course. It gets passed on because the abuser was the victim once, right? So, but I feel like you are someone that is trying to change the whole DNA prototype, especially when it comes to self empowerment, because I'm hearing like spirit has different plans for you. The universe has different plans for you and what you're here to do. You have a lot of past life memories that have resurfaced in this lifetime. You've had those memories come up. If you meditate, you have been given access to those, or specific things have only been brought up for you to see and remember who you are. For some of you, you've had army. You've had memories of in like past life memories of being in the army or genocide or something that has really impacted your soul fragment. It's like you're carrying that pain. So sometimes when you're releasing a lot of pain or you're crying, it's like you're not quite aware, like, why am I crying so much, or why is it so painful? And there are certain emotions that you're releasing that are carried on from your parents' childhood. So basically, you're not only just healing one of you, pile number three, you're healing the whole lineage, because there's something quite prominent about generations, or by generations I literally mean centuries, like where your soul has been in past lives. So you're clearing out something over here. I am honestly racking my brain. I think we're gonna move past this because this is a very vague yet very specific message that I am getting, but it's very based on accountability and leadership. I would only assume that you are someone that has a leadership or power in some shape or form in your life, where there has been maybe warnings by the universe that you're misusing it, or it can be the opposite tangent of it, where you're trying to release yourself from the oppression of from being oppressed by somebody. But I feel majority of you are people who are trying to relatively free yourself from maybe your family's expectations of you, or maybe what has been fed into you, or maybe what your friends expect you to do, something like it is based off a social image that gives you a boost of your worthiness, which is what spirit wants you to separate, because you don't have to be that person. A few of you might actually not want to be this person who's in the limelight, who has this leadership qualities. Few of you actually might want to live a very peaceful life that is not inclusive of all of this politics and drama and the worldly affairs, is what I'm picking up. So they're bringing me back to what I spoke of about in the beginning, that you're giving love just to receive something back. So it's almost like you're using your diligence, not even diligence, you're being clever about it. You're only giving out as much as you can get back in return. It's very calculative mindset. This is the definition of being in a survival mode. I would really say that, because you're not free flowing, you're not yourself. You're always trying to fight for this throne. It's really giving the proper description of a monarch. You have to fight for it, and you have to do anything to keep your power. There's some sort of superiority in your head. There's some sort of superiority that comes down from your genetics that makes you feel like we are, superior than other people, and we have to protect ourselves. But internally, you are also carrying certain genetics that you know that are not good for you. It's gene chromes is what I'm hearing. For somebody over here, I'm hearing that there has been in ancestral relationships. There's something quite specific. Now, that doesn't have to be your message, but it would be for someone who is aware of it. You have the observer in reverse. Deep knowing. I really feel like this is about clearing out debt from what your ancestors have also had, because I feel like a lot of it comes at the expense of other people, that really flows in as unhappiness in your own life. Whatever these ancestral patterns are, whether it's based off money, greed, power, a lot of it is based off the understanding of what power can do for you. So either you have this um, unknowing feeling that I want power, I want to be accepted by other people, but most of all, I want power that people are scared of me. And that could come from a place of this shadow that we've been talking about. This is where you feel like, if I gain that power in my life, people won't be able to coerce me. I won't be seen like that, or I won't be disrespected or abused like that. And I don't think that the answer to your prayers or your healing, the answer is not really in becoming that person that you're just becoming like your abuser, that is not the answer over here. So I don't know if you've been through something in relationships or just generally through the hand of life, whatever it is, spirit is teaching you or telling you, or you're just going through this process of awakening, of realizing like this is not me and this will never be good enough for me. I want to pull out a few cards to see what comes after this, because this was honestly very, very confusing. If this message did not make sense, you best believe this is not your fire, because I still can't make sense of it completely. And I really tried. We have the cosmos in reverse. Where your gene key has been taking you, we have reincarnation. I'm telling you, this is something that your ancestors, by that I mean your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents, people that I would say like centuries ago have been doing this. And your ancestors, I mean your biological ancestors, not your spirit guides, I mean your biological ancestors have been doing this for a while, where they've had leadership qualities, they have misused it, or they are capable of it, and they've always misused it because of their uniqueness, because they know that they have something inside. But it's like you, for you, your lineage or something about you to stand out had always had to go through some sort of victim consciousness or some sort of abuse. And then I feel like at a point the tables were turned where you guys became the abusers. So somewhere you carry trauma for it, you carry both feelings, the feeling of feeling weak, but the feeling of feeling superior as well. Does that make sense over here? You carry both of those feelings which have been passed down. It is not at all absurd to think that something that happened generations ago, because you are still a part of that gene. Cells carry that information. It's a prototype that has been passed on up till you. You are that person who is receiving this information today to transmute this all. Okay, I'm going to pull out a few cards to see what comes next. We have obstacle in evolution. So whatever you felt, I just feel like this really comes down to the fact that you have not felt enough. It's always been a tug of war in this life. There's this feeling of recognizing your uniqueness, recognizing the goodness in you, recognizing the special X factor within you, but still feeling like it's not good enough. And trying to, instead of trying the right path, that's what I said in the beginning, right? There's a difficult path. There's one path that you know that you should take to solve this, but it's always like you get coerced, or the mindset deludes you into thinking like, no, let's take the easier option out, let's make somebody else feel bad so that we can feel like we're greater than them. I feel like you're really changing this. You're going to change this. You're going to become more self-assured. Wow, pile number 3. Not for you. Just like you're going to really realize what is for you. No place like home. I told you, there's somewhere where you've been. You've tried to get along with how you've been brought up. But you're going to realize, and this is going to become more sure within you, that what you've been doing, or where you're trying to, like get along, is not for you. You will realize your place in this world. It's like a homecoming is what I'm hearing. I don't know. Alright, pile number 3, I'm going to leave a reading here. I really do hope that you found a message that was helpful. If you did, please do hit the like button. Subscribe for more, hit the bell icon so you know whenever I upload next. Let me know down in the comment section how that resonated. Information for personal readings is given down below, and I'm going to see you guys in another one. Bye-bye.